Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good now to everyone. This is Darrell Webster, Darrell as a Service, joining you today and talking about PLC Groups. We've got quite a panel today, and I'm really excited about being able to talk with teachers and with experts and people that are using PLC Groups. So, forgive us as we're using an interesting arrangement of technology and presenting this. We're using a Skype for Business call, and you can see this over YouTube. So I'm going to be clicking a few things to help present and show people, and definitely get out of the way and let people discuss and talk about the technology as well. So I'm just going to full screen this video part here, and we'll leave this up to introducing our guests. First of all, we'll start from the left there. We've got Krish, who hasn't managed to get his video going this morning, but I'll let you introduce yourself, Krish.
Thanks, Darrell. My name is Krish Gali. I'm a Principal Program Manager Lead at Microsoft, and I head the EDU strategy for education with respect to Office 365 groups.
Thank you, Krish. Next, we have Morgan McKeen. Say hello, Morgan.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Morgan McKeen, and I'm a teacher at Parnell District School in Auckland, New Zealand, and I'm also a Microsoft Innovative Educator, and we're just beginning our journey of using Microsoft PLC Groups, so I can't wait to find out more about using them.
Excellent. And it was Morgan's question who helped us to put this together, where I thought, rather than type up an answer, let's try and get some experts on the call. So thank you for inspiring this, Morgan. Next we have Rachel Chisnall.
Kia ora koutou. I'm Rachel Chisnall. I'm in Dunedin, which is at the bottom of New Zealand. I'm also a Microsoft Innovative Educator Fellow, and we were looking at distinguishing the PLC groups just from the regular groups, so I'm also looking forward to learning lots today.
Great, thanks, Rachel. Now we have Rob Dickson over in this very comfortable looking scene here in their comms lounge or communication lounge. Go ahead, Rob, and introduce the other teachers with you.
Yeah, my name is Robert Dickson. I'm the Executive Director here at Omaha Public Schools. Omaha Public Schools is about 53,000 kids. We have about 4,000 teachers, 8,400 staff. It's about 90 schools and programs. We have a little over 200 Microsoft Innovative Educators in the district, and I have two right here with me. This is part of my instructional technology staff. I'll let them introduce themselves.
I'm Kelly Means. I'm part of the technology team supporting our secondary schools in the district.
And I'm Melissa Cleaver. I'm one of our instructional technology trainers as well, and I support our elementary buildings and also an MIE trainer.
We have got plenty of expertise and experience on the call, so I'm really looking forward to hearing about this. We're going to start off with Krish giving a quick demonstration and explanation of groups. So I'll just get that out of the way and full screen and take it away, Krish.
Thanks, Darrell. So as Darrell mentioned, today we'll be talking about Office 365 groups and how groups are being used in EDU. Then we'll jump into professional learning communities and show you how you can create, manage, and collaborate effectively with PLCs, and also have plenty of time for Q&A, and Rob will be talking about how Omaha Public Schools are using PLCs. So before we get into PLCs, I would like to provide a quick update, an introduction into Office 365 groups for everyone who may not be fully aware of the capability. So the way to think about Office 365 groups is that it's a fabric that connects all the apps that exist in Office 365 together through a single identity and a shared membership. And what this translates to is it's actually in continue to be that date is the subject of collaboration services. A lot of principles is here collaborating. Patient tools are connectivity there getting together. Coming here, the classroom things and PLC is the particular reader profile, and also and you'll find out more. Descriptions be from education, implement of students, So Morgan, if you're still on the line, if you have any questions. while Darrell comes back, we can talk about that too.
Sure.
Sigh. Apologies everyone, as we're having some issues with trying to present, but we are back. And we're back with a live screen. So you're back on, Krish. Thanks for pausing there.
No worries. All right, so let's get into the demo and see how all these things come together and work in Office 365. So what I'm showing here really is that when you open Office 365 app and land an email, you already set up your inbox and folders, and you have groups right next to that. Creating a PLC group is as easy as hitting the create button in the group. And you see here that you can create a standard group to address the various use cases that I spoke about before. And you can also create a PLC, and this is where all the templating comes into play. I'm not going to go ahead and create this group because I already have one created, so I'm going to go show you what that actually looks like. When you create the group, we are creating a templated group solution which brings in all the elements of Office 365 together. You have your conversations, which is really bringing in all the people in the PLC together to effectively communicate and collaborate and keep each other up to date. You can also go ahead and connect various connectors, such as Twitter, and follow in all the stuff that is happening in the public realm in Twitter, whether it's a hashtag or a specific Twitter handle, right in the conversation. Familiarity. The templating comes in OneNote. So the do-for model that we spoke about before, it's really trying to skin that model into and provide in all the templates and solutions to get started, whether it is creating smart goals or creating action items and meeting templates to help people collaborate effectively in the PLC, and also check and reflect upon and bring in data from various other sources to see how the progress is being made in the PLC. One of the key advantages of using the group solution is that groups also comes with one shared view of all the files and documents you share with everybody. Whether it's a document that came through an email or a document that has been uploaded directly to OneDrive or SharePoint, you can see one view of all the documents and collaborate effectively without having to figure out where a document has been saved or collaborate on that specific file. The group also brings in the power of your Outlook calendar and Skype together effectively. What you really see here is that you can keep the entire group in sync by creating meetings, adding Skype so that you don't have to be in the same place, and you can join these meetings and regardless of wherever you are. One of the key tools that has had a lot of excitement in the education space is Planner. And what I'm showing here is how a simple, lightweight task management solution can really help people manage and track assignments and any tasks that people might have in a PLC community. So here you can see that Eleanor has a few action items assigned to her. You can quickly open up the task and figure out if you want to reassign this to somebody else. You can complete the task right from here. And also you can see a good view of what is happening across the various different people for that specific group. And finally, what we have heard from a lot of our customers is that PLCs really don't stop where the school or the school district might have a boundary. People need to share and collaborate effectively with people outside the school district or outside the specific schools. So with the introduction of guest access, which really is, you can now bring in anybody who is outside your organization or your tenant to come in and become a full member to communicate and collaborate on conversations and files effectively as a full member of the group. So that's a quick introduction and a demo walkthrough of PLCs. And I would love to answer any questions at this point or pause to see if I can show you anything else and any other capabilities that might be helpful for the people on the call.
I've got a question about group names or just the discoverability of groups. Can you make them undiscoverable? For example, we have an at-risk student register, and it's difficult to call that something like that's not obvious, and you don't want other people in our tenant, so our students are also in our tenant. Is there any way to make those groups undiscoverable to other people?
Yes, so we have a few controls, and this is actually a pretty common request, and we built that functionality specifically for EDU. Yeah. The couple of controls that we have is that you can hide groups from appearing in your address list so people cannot see it and discover such a group exists. In addition to that, you can also have hidden memberships. So if you have a specific group which is sensitive and you don't want other people to see who's part of that group, you can hide the membership of the group so people outside that group do not know who else is part of that group. So a lot of our customers have been using these controls in combination to kind of exactly address the need that you are talking about.
Thanks.
I just have a question about what would be the main difference between using just an Office 365 group and a PLC group?
So it really is kind of underlying from a technology standpoint. It kind of is very similar. What PLC offers to you in addition to Office 365 groups is the templates that we provide to bootstrap the creation of a PLC and provide some guidance and a framework for what for the resources that people might need to collaborate better as a PLC. So all the templates that you see in OneNote here is really what is being created under the covers when you go create a PLC group as opposed to a regular group, which also comes with a OneNote, but then it doesn't have the templates that would help people understand the resources that are available to them to be able to have an effective collaboration solution for PLC.
Great, thank you.
So it may be a good point in time to start hearing from Rob and his school about how they have used the PLC group, and perhaps even a little about the use of the templates within the OneNote notebook.
Sure. I would say one of our first uses of this was one of our schools, Wakanda Elementary, was a turnaround model, and if you don't understand what a turnaround model is, the federal government issued some school improvement grants that would give funding to districts that needed persistently low achieving schools to have a very rapid turnaround program, and you could apply for these grants. So we applied for one for Wakanda Elementary, and we replaced all the teachers but 4 and replaced the principal in that process. That was a high technology initiative that we gave a Surface Pro to every teacher and a Surface 3 to every student. So as a K-5 school, high poverty school. And in what the PLC groups allowed us to do was to introduce both organic and structured professional learning communities into Wakanda. And so those teachers got, anytime you bring in almost an entire staff of teachers, you need to kind of really kind of align your structured professional development. So this allowed us both by grade level and organically based upon need have a mechanism to implement professional learning. And so this notebook really provided that vehicle for us to do that with. And so really for us, it allowed us from a district to give some structure to something that should be organic in nature. And one of the things that I like about it is whenever I dive into Delve and I'm looking for professional learning community, I can just type PLC and it'll bring up all the available professional learning communities within that tenant. Do you guys have anything to add there? Melissa?
No, not at this point. I'll wait for questions maybe from the gals there.
So the other thing that I like about the groups is we just recently enabled our external access to groups. So in our virtual school, which we just started this year, we're allowing some parent access into that. So so teachers can engage with parents within that notebook or within that group. And those aren't traditionally professional learning communities, but because in our virtual school we have what's called learning coaches, it provides an opportunities for teachers and our learning coaches, which are actually an identified parent, to engage in a learning process on their students' needs. So this is a screenshot that Krish has up here of some of our PLCs. Go ahead and go to the next slide, Krish. And so, you know, one of the things that I'd say in the future that we're looking at, I don't know if many of you have looked at Power BI. We use extensively Power BI dashboards, both for coaching, for also an app approval tool. But one of the things that we'd like to move forward with and looking at data inside of notebooks is being able to embed Power BI dashboards. Because if I could bring data out of our student information system and display it for a teacher, whether that be grades or trends, that's what we're looking at in the future. Because you know, it's important to look at point in time data, but it's also to look at that data that's up to date. So I think that's, you know, right now this process takes away the manual process that teachers used to do, where they would have a meeting time, they would go into a classroom and one person would be on a computer or one person would be typing notes about what happens in the professional learning community. And that that synchronous time now can be asynchronous, and I also can bring in my professional learning network from Twitter and have conversations collectively within the group. So I think they're more authentic conversations. I think you have a lot more ideas that come into play in those professional learning communities. I think where we move forward as a district is I want us to make just-in-time data-driven decisions rather than looking at data that still was a manual process to gather. So those are my takes.
And I was just going to say that the data piece in the notebook, as you were asking about the template, that was really key in helping the teachers, because previously in most of our buildings there was some binder clear off in some room that sat on a shelf, and so when anybody needed to get data, you know, the group had to go and grab that binder. Now it gave it, like Rob was saying, that asynchronous time, that data could be there. They could get to the data anytime they needed to within the notebook, and the group could make decisions in moving forward with things based on what was in the notebook. So that was very helpful as part of the PLC processes.
Yeah, excellent. I think even just the simplest benefit of using a PLC group and the notebook itself is giving an agreed structure. I know that there's a template there to help schools and teachers get started, but they're quite welcome to come up with their own structure, or even just document their own structure to follow, and come up with rules and a focus and goals of what to work on. But yeah, I think we're not probably too far away from having things like embedded dashboards. The OneNote team have been frantically adding more and more content that can be embedded into a notebook, and that's certainly one that I'm sure they're working on.
Yeah, one way to get around that is you can actually embed a Power BI dashboard into a Sway and then insert the Sway into a notebook.
I love those
So
workarounds.
there are ways around it. So, but yeah, so Darrell, you're absolutely right. I think having a structure, but it's not so defined that you can't make it your own, I think is what's great about having OneNote, because it can be, you can structure as much as you want, and you can unstructure as much as you want in a OneNote notebook.
That's been one thing we found last year working with some of our different groups that were kind of piloting the PLCs, is they would take that general structure, but then they may tweak things and make their own kind of agenda template. But, you know, having that template to work off of, to just kind of get them going within the whole PLC process really was helpful for them to wrap their heads around it, because a lot of our teachers were new to even the PLC process itself. So.
Excellent. And I'll just put the question out, I guess, to Rachel and Morgan. So do we call them PLC groups in New Zealand? What do we call them?
I suppose it's just professional learning.
Right. And can you see, like, we might use a different structure, like in your school you'll have a different way of running or focusing on those goals?
Yeah, we're still not quite at that cohesive point, I suppose, with the staff professional learning in our school. And we've got our resources more stored on a SharePoint at this stage. So they're there and readily accessible for anyone that wants to look at them. But this data mining, I think I need to learn more about that, because we're in response to Aero, who was here at our school last year, that's the Education Review Office, there is that big push for data-driven decisions. So I didn't even know it was possible. It's good to see how it works.
Yeah,
Rachel, the one thing I would say, the difference that your staff might see in SharePoint and in groups is that obviously it's the same underlying structure, but I think there's a level of trust that goes into a group, because whenever I communicate, I know who I'm communicating to, you know, in that collaborative conversation. And so many times when you're thinking about those organic PLCs, privacy to those people so that they can be authentic in their conversations is important. And so I'd say, you know, in a PLC, I think that this structure brings a lot of value to that.
Yeah,
That's a
you
good
also
point, Rob.
mentioned. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I just wanted to add on top of what Rob just mentioned. And in addition to what Rob mentioned, the key advantage of group is that it brings that same notion of shared membership across all the different apps that you might need to use at various points of your collaboration, right? Whether it's Planner, what you mentioned with SharePoint, as well as in email to collaborate and communicate with them effectively. So that really kind of power comes together when you use the group.
Yeah, so I see that advantage, not just of having your documents and your notes and various things that you're pulling together, but also the conversations. It's all in one place. So I like the way that Rob put it there, that you're communicating, collaborating, you're coordinating with the same group of people. There's that level of trust. And I think one thing that stands out to me, and this is an advantage of groups in general, not just PLC groups, but you don't have to go hunting for where this place is. It's attached to your Outlook. It's attached to your OneDrive, and wherever you are, you can access that group, get into the context of working on that content. So a teacher might say, I'm going to dedicate an hour now to working on this content. And it's right there. You're in that context and you're not distracted.
Right. I'd also say the extensibility of it being in groups then makes it mobile too. So I can access those exact groups through the Groups app in iOS on my iPhone or on my iPad across just about any device out there. So it's not limited to one type of device or one, being at work. I could interface with that PLC group just about anywhere.
Yeah, I can imagine a scenario where say Morgan's come up with a great idea for a lesson, and it is working really well. And I'm not sure about your policies with taking pictures in classrooms, but you could whip out OneNote and you could find the page that says ideas that work well, and take a couple of pictures of students engaged in a certain activity and make a few notes, and it's right there for the whole PLC group to discuss later.
Yeah.
And that was something that was really effective for our teachers too. They could take pictures of evidences of learning and things that they were applying to at their PLC groups, have that captured in the notebook so that later on they could have more conversations as a whole group of what they were individually going away from the group with, but then come back collectively and have those conversations around some of those images. And they found that very useful to have that kind of place to organize it all and have it readily available.
I think Melissa brings up a great topic, is that artifact. Because OneNote is as flexible as it is, I can bring context to artifacts. So I can write notes about, I can draw arrows, I can, whatever that artifact is, I can point it out, and people have an the understanding of that artifact is better communicated through OneNote.
And also history, right? Like some of our customers really like that the group brings in history, so people who join new or who leave and new people come in, you always can go back to see what has happened, both from conversations as well as OneNote and anywhere else that it might have happened.
I'll also say one other feature that I found very helpful is the fact that the calendar was, part of the groups. Whereas like within SharePoint calendars, you can't have that interact with your own personal calendar, so the group can easily, click on the group calendar and push the invite to their personal calendar so they could have things, so they could be keeping up on things within their personal calendar as well as with the group calendar very easily.
It's often a dirty word with teachers in New Zealand, but do you link this into teacher appraisal? I mean, a lot of schools in New Zealand, I think, are using staff notebook, but I could see that this might have advantages.
Professional learning and self-improvement and coaching are all not a part of an evaluation at this time.
Okay. That's a shame, because it's sort of what you'd want to be doing. Yeah.
I'm not going to give my thoughts into that, Rachel.
I think part of the idea is that they want to allow.
Sorry.
I think that part of the idea is they want to allow for the teachers to have that authenticity and not fear to try new things, not fear to explore and implement new things without having, being tagged to their appraisal. And so I think that's part of the reason why the PLCs are set up in that way and kind of keeping those separate.
I think, and I'm not sure how Omaha Public School are using this, but the staff notebook, which is very much like the structure of a class notebook, could fit well in that piece there. So you could have examples of work or content that you've captured in a PLC group that you could take over to your staff notebook and your section as a teacher. That could be shared with your head of department. So a number of possibilities there with OneNote and bringing content across from groups and into appraisal areas.
We've had a lot of principals wanting a staff notebook within the group. They think that would be a really fabulous feature.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming up to time there. I think we'll just round it off there. I think Krish has got a few things to show as next steps.
Yeah, so firstly, thank you so much, Darrell, for organizing this call and everyone who participated in this call. It's a very interesting discussion, and hope we can do more in the future about specific topics like PLC, which we did today. So the three things that I want to give a call out for is that there's a ton of information. I just put one link here, but then there's a lot of information about Office 365 groups as well as PLCs out there. So if you want to learn more, just search from your favorite search engine, and you'll get a ton of information. Secondly, go ahead and try it out. Pilot it with a specific school or school district, and see how it goes. And definitely, just like the faculty and staff are learning, we here at Microsoft are also learning how these are used, and we want to continually improve it. I did take a few notes from this call as well that I want to follow up with my team and start executing quickly on some of those things. So there's a ton coming up, and I am also very excited to announce that we are working on the Mac Outlook endpoint as well. So Groups is going to be coming there. We know that our education community, there are a lot of Mac devices, so you should be able to use all of these things from the favorite device of your choice and in the comfort and familiarity of those app experiences. So please use it, give us feedback, and we are always improving. So there you go.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for jumping on the call and being part of this. It's been
Thank you.
really good experience. I know, sorry to our audience